All right, my music makers, in today's video, sticking with the theme of finding these new plugins that solve small, niggly, pain in the backside problems, this one I discovered and have to just recommend. It is pretty much essential in like DnB production for sure. I didn't get given the plugin, I went and bought it, I paid for it, I got it on Plugin Boutique where I buy basically all of my tools because I get cashback and free gifts and promos and all sorts of other cool stuff, and I love it. Basically, I demoed it, loved it so much I went and bought it within about 15 minutes. And what it does is it does a technique which I've taught on this channel before, which to do is so damn time consuming, it's unreal. So firstly I want to explain what it is and then show you just how simple this then makes everything. I just want to add, because I forgot to do it in the introduction, I've added an extra technique at the end of this video that anyone should be able to do in any DAW, because I don't just want to say, hey, you always need to go and buy a plugin. I want to be able to give you valuable things with the tools you've got at the same time. I just got really excited about this tool, so I figured I would put this video together. What we've got here is an example track. We're doing something where we flow into the drums to kind of pace everything up. I learnt this technique from a talk given by John Gooch, aka Spore, probably before he was Feed Me, to be honest, way back. And he was saying like you can have a drum break that's kind of like moving and it feels good, and then without really changing anything, without the person picking up that they've heard a difference, it's suddenly like it's way more swingy and moving into it. And this was the technique that was then taught. What I want you to do is listen through this section here, so these 8 bars, and then where this comes in here, really focus on the snare and hear what's going on. So here we go.
I was doing too much, feeling overwhelmed. Even though I'm a vet, you can never tell. I was trying to make it stick like a better gel. Cause if I don't do it now, then I never will. There's no way you can win if you never fail. Take the cost of a loss when I saw the bill. I ain't got a fake when I know it's real. I showed you the old school like speak and spell. I was doing.
All right, so let's focus on the drums in case you couldn't quite pick that up, but hopefully you felt the difference, right? Let's grab the break. Boom, so we're just focusing on the drums now. We're gonna go from this one to this one. Now it's really obvious, right? It gives like a thwack into the snare, and in this case I've just done it on the snare to give that second 8 bars an extra little groove and shuffle that you pick up, but you don't really know where it came from. You feel it more than you hear it, right? And that involves a couple of things: going and finding a tiny little sound that's going to work. So if we zoom in here, if Logic pays attention to me and doesn't just zoom arbitrary, what we've basically got here is just a tiny little bit of a shaker. That's it, that's all it adds. But it comes in just before the snare hits, look. And it overlaps just the teeniest, tiniest bit. Now you can do this before kick drums, before hi-hats, before crashes, just to give them that thump and impact in every single time. But it's the admin of finding the little sound, bringing it in there, putting the fade in, lining it up, especially if the breaks are off groove, like every single one here, that it's a little bit tiny off, so you have to kind of snap it in and zoom right in and find all those spaces. The tool that cable guys have come up with, called Snapback, allows us to do this basically automatically and taking all of the admin side out of it. So on the lo-fi break that's up here, I decided to pop it on there, and here it is. So instead of me having that tiny little swoopy sample, we've now got Snapback here, which is a whole host of those samples. So what we can do here, and it was in the whole time by the way, I've just made it part of the break. If we play it back now, we've got our break and it's kind of landing pretty happily. It bops along quite nicely, right? Now when we put the snapback in, it's now giving us that before every single hit in that break. Now because I've got layered percussion and extra snare and other things, there's areas where it doesn't hit, so it gives us that shuffle just on the lo-fi breaker things. Let me exaggerate a touch. hear it? Take it away. Yeah? Super, super nice. That would have been a nightmare to line up before. Now inside it, when we switch on Snapback, we can put in a whole host of different type of samples that are all shaped into it, like this. I'm going to jack that right up so it's really audible. It's a massive difference, right? Now in this case, I would maybe push this forward a little bit more so it sits within that break, so we can actually shift it. And as you can see on the visual feedback there, it shows us where it's coming in, where it's overlapping. If we click on output, we can see the whole thing it's made. Or we can even pull it back. And now we've got that real thwack. It's giving that such a push-pull groove. Now if we needed to dial it in, we've got attack and decay as well, so we can like pop it right up on the decay and let it come out, and it can come in a lot harder with the attack. I had it so it swooped in a lot more. Works fast, like it's really fast music, it needs to be like a quick shook. But if we want to do that, we can. That doesn't work nearly as well for me, right? So we use the attack and make it swoop in, a little bit of decay where it kind of crosses over. And then we're going to just shift that time in. And we can just flick through the samples as well and find what's right for us. I think that's really nice actually. I'll bring that back a fair bit like that. Take it away. Stop having our snare come in, just do it on the first 4 bars. Now we can really adjust this. If we open up this window called the trigger here, when we play it back, it will show us all of those trigger points. Now I can bring this up all the way up here. That doesn't get triggered at all. I'll bring it down and have it as just the loudest sounds and then picking it up, look. Let's choose a sound that really sticks out to make it a little easier. Yeah? Bring it down so now it just gets the kick and the snare. Back on just the kick. We can change the trigger type if we want as well. We can trigger it with MIDI ourselves, but I think this audio system is an absolutely fantastic way of doing it. And I'm doing it on something quite difficult, like a break. If I want to do this just on the snare drum, like I've already done in this track with an individual sample, this will take seconds to dial in without having to find the right kind of sample, put it in, put a fade in, get the timing just right, copy it, make sure it sits in the right place each time. Now, if we crank the detail right up, it's going to catch like every transient out there. But if we want to get it on a specific area, we can get this roughly where it's hitting the right ones. It's catching a couple there. We dial the detail back. Now it'll just capture the ones we're actually after, rather than trying to grab all of those little transients. Now let's dial that in. So let's give it a bit of a decay. Maybe pull it back and level. And I'm going to push that forward a touch. Like that, I'd say that's pretty nice. That feels about right to me. I've dialed in exactly where we like it. Now if we want our more zoom view, we can do detail and we can see exactly where everything's crossing over and overlapping. But we can bring this out so it goes like to 4/4, for example. I can just zoom right out to over 8 bars. Half bar seems to be relatively good. Nice filter if we want to take out the low end of a sample that's coming in there. Maybe we don't want anything interfering with, say, kicks, if we're putting like a clicky sound in. I've explained all the snapback stuff and the fact that for me, that is friggin' huge. We've also got this transient option, so we can overlay it and put a transient in. So if we want to enhance that kick sound, for example, I can go transient, and here it's by default got a kick in. Now doing the same thing, it's going to put this kick drum in. I'm going to jack the volume right up just so it's easy to hear for an example. We can really get our own kicky, like vinyl-y sounds in there. We've got the same attack and decay options that we want. In this example, I haven't used that, I haven't found it particularly useful. Now you're probably thinking, oh, but what if I want to put my own sounds in there, and you know, the same thing that I done on the snare, you want to bring that in? You can do that too. So I've already had a little play around with this, but what you'd have to do, you go up to here and then you can do show user sound folder. You can put up to 1,000 2-second sounds in there that you want to use, and they then show up for you in the presets. So if I go in here, look, I've got user over here, and I've got a basically set of sounds that I could put in. That's actually what you were hearing right at the start. In that case, give me like an extra little shaking pattern. Adjust that timing to where I want it. Don't really want that. I want that to really swoop in. Maybe less of the decay. Nice little sound in there. Super quick and easy to dial in. Now I will say there was another way that I used to do this technique that you can still try out if you don't want to pick this up, and it does a different kind of thing, but I'll show you it real quick because it's built into Logic. Today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. They let me get my music out to all of the major distributors, and they do that at a price an independent artist can easily afford. If you're ready to get your music or beats out there and want to release an unlimited amount of music each year, check the link in the description below for a discount off of your first year of unlimited distribution with DistroKid. And we can just use Alchemy in this case, or if you're in another DAW, anything that's going to generate some noise for you. We want a bit of a white noise, basically. So in Alchemy, I'm going to go File, Initialize. Make sure I'm over here in VA, turn oscillator off, turn noise on, and I will use the white noise for this. Now, if I just bash a note in here, yeah, my bad, I turned the oscillator off. I turned the channel off rather than just the oscillator. So there we go. Make sure you do that. Okay, so we now have a burst of white noise, right? We're just gonna loop that like so. That sounds beautiful, that's it. Pro tip done. No, I'm kidding. What we need to do next is filter it up. So there's a filter built into Alchemy, again, using a different DAW, put an EQ on it, whatever. Throw it up so we've got like some top end. Yeah, something like that. I would probably go like the 2 to 3K region. You've got that fizzy high kind of going on. Once we've done that, we need a gate, and ideally that your gate can take a sidechain input. In this case, I'll use the same break we've been using for the whole video. So I'll put it on the lo-fi, which was taken from Echoes in the Water. So now this break gates this gate, yeah, which is on the white noise, and we get this. Loads of white noise. But when we bump the threshold right up, the white noise disappears. Now we want to be relatively sensible here with our overall ADSR type controls, our attack hold release, right? if we go something like 5 to 10 milliseconds attack time, so that's the time it's going to open up the gate with the sidechain, and then we have a sensible hold time of say 20. We want this to be a shaker kind of sound in this instance. A release time, so settling down 40 to 80, depending on your genre and your BPM. And then we're slowly going to dial back this threshold. There we go, we've just dialed ourselves in. Nice little like white noisy shaker type thing. And we can shake this how we like, using the release and hold. So it's nice and quick there, just let's give it a nice little ride on just on the top of that break, right? Now we can use our hysteresis if we want, pull it right down, get a bit more shaky, or we can be dead rigid and just really dial it into where we want it. If you don't want it going all the way up in the high end, or you want it even more like hissy, just use your filters, maybe take some tops out. Yeah. Dial it into whatever works for you, however fast you want it, whatever kind of sound you're after. Mix that in with all the other techniques we've been looking at. Let's go from our relatively rigid break to bringing in snap and our snare enhancement and our nice little white noise shaker there. Let's have a little listen to an A and B, shall we?
Better gel, cause if I don't do it now, then I never will. There's no way you can win if you never fail. Take the cost of a loss when I saw the bill. I ain't got a fake when I know it's real. Even though I'm a vet, you can never tell. I was trying to make it stick like a better gel. Cause if I don't do it now, then I never will. There's no way you can win if you never fail. Take the cost of a loss when I saw the bill. I ain't got a fake when I know it's real. I showed you the old school like speak and spell, either on beat or a cappella.
Boom. So nice one for watching. I hope this has been really helpful for you. Snapback, if you're seeing this video early, it was on like half price, but honestly like was an instant buy for me. If you like this track, it will eventually come out with the channel sponsor, which is DistroKid. That's who I use to distribute all of my music to all the major platforms. If you're ready to start distributing your tunes too, well, you can do that using DistroKid, and there's a discount below off your first year of distribution in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and I do look forward to seeing you guys in future videos. Take care. Peace.
Every day's graft, every day's hard. Every day's fight so we don't starve.